Welcome back to the Eastern Clash here in Taiwan, where not only is it hot outside, but it's getting hot in here as we're going to Game 5 of our winners bracket finals, guys.
I mean, this is a series that really delivered, I think, more than anyone expected.
Yeah.
I mean, Tempest, not only are they making waves in this series, but it wasn't a stomp for Tempest. It wasn't a crazy upset. It's like, oh, wow, Tempest 3-0, that's totally a crazy result. It's a close series. We're seeing adaptations on the fly, and it feels like finally Tempest has settled into comfort picks, heroes that they're very comfortable with. They tried to push the boundaries in the last map there, but it didn't work out. So going into their tournament life on the line on Towers of Doom, we saw Cyan again on the ETC, and I think this is something that's going to continue in this best of 5, or in our final game, I should really say.
I mean, this might sound premature, but I'm excited for more Tempest in the season, period. Because right now, I feel like they're a team that is growing in, and as you mentioned, finding their comfort picks, finding where they actually fit into a team. But there's still a lot of things that you can criticize that they can grow on. H82 in particular, we've seen some moments where he's made a lot of plays, but when he's playing on that offlaner, I think we're missing out from him. If he were to step up his game slightly here, they would easily blow L5 out of the water. So I'm loving what we're seeing so far. And on the other side, you have L5, who's starting to come together as a roster as well.
They're all coming together, and what's coming together is the conclusion of the series is we're going to find out what the 5th map will be as we take a look at the graphic. And game number 5, Wolf, going to be on Dragonshire.
Wow, a very bold pick for Tempest to pick into one of L5's best maps, actually, the Dragonshire. But, you know, both Dragonshire and Sky Temple really strong maps for L5. And for Warhead Junction, you just want to avoid that in general when you're going into the final game. You know, basically your winner's bracket life is on the line here, so you want to maintain that. So important. So, going to take the Dragonshire. We could see a very long game here.
Could be a long game, but here we have it, Game 5 of the winners bracket finals between L5 and Tempest. And just like that, L5 says, we want no more of that moo cow coming in with those mosh pits.
I mean, more moo cow.
The mosh pit was incredible as well, but I think this draft is going to be Sign targeted. Like, I wonder if we'll even see a fast Muradin pickup for L5. Maybe Sign realizes this. Tempest is going to have to grab the Muradin early, potentially. But if they give him Tyrael, like if Tempest just was like, okay, let's run the Tyrael Illidan, I worry for them. I think they should avoid that at all costs. I'd rather see something like Muradin Dahaka going into talking about Warriors.
I mean, in game 2, I was kind of hating on the Anubrak pick, but I would rather the Anubrak over the Tyrael. I feel like Anubrak would give him a little bit more wiggle room and a little more control. So, yeah, I agree with you, man. L5 should come into this game and have a plan to target outside. Now, something that is a bit different that we have not seen this entire series is L5 is the one to get Genji first.
And I think this plays into what Wolf talks about, is how this is one of L5's best map, and it's all due to rotations. And Genji gives you that rotational control that very few heroes have.
Sure.
You know, for a while it was Zeratul, and then once Genji got introduced, he kind of became this bigger, better version because of his mobility, because of what he could bring to the table, and we'll see him float a lot through here.
I mean, also remember, we talk about comfort picks for Tempest getting heroes that they felt comfortable with. It is going to be the Anubrak for Sign. They identified they need to at least have a hero for him, and sure, his Anubrak isn't perfect, but it's not going to be the ETC. It's taken away. Genji taken away from Hong Kong. How many times did we see the Dragon Blade win those fights, do massive damage? So L5 drafts around this with the kind of fake ban, the throwaway ban of the ETC, not taking away an S-tier hero, but removing one of the best heroes for Sign, removing one of the best heroes for Hong Kong. And now they can draft around this and turn it onto their side, make an advantage.
I'm not overly surprised, but I'm a little bit surprised that it wasn't just an Uther gray main. But I feel like if you're gonna deal with the Uther, a Nubrak with the Cocoon to make sure that Divine Shield doesn't come out for the Genji, or if Genji decides to go into that Dragon Blade form, you have a counter to that. So I like that if you're not gonna go Uther, that you go the Nubrak.
Now, the Uther will be picked up now for L5, which we have seen the deadly combo of Divine Shield into a Dragon Blade, which will make it harder for that Cocoon to actually be utilized and lock down that Genji. And I was a bit curious to see if we would even see that Uther. Uther has gone down in priority pretty heavily for these teams, as that's why I think we went into the Anubrak as a get a first pick, as Tempest as a crew and the rest of Korean teams, after speaking with Josh, have mentioned that they think Uther is actually kind of dead weight compared to what the Western scene thinks.
Definitely so, but I think Uther empowers the Genji in ways that Rhaegar cannot, right? And so you don't really want to be running the Lucio, like we're not going to be seeing that. You don't want to be running the Kharazim if you're L5. Tempest is definitely going to give the consideration. The Cassia ban is really strong if they wanted to try to run solo Genji range DPS and run a Tyrael, for example. The Odin ban coming out, a little bit more surprising, though.
It's not as surprising. I'm actually looking at some past drafts. They've actually run that, and they ran that with a fall stat as well. It gives them that global control. It's something that they haven't run a lot, but it's something that they've adapted to recently. I like the pickup, and I also like the denial of Tassadar, who has significant wave clear and the fact that he can rotate mid, clear, and then help one of the other lanes. Maybe help the 3-man if you go rotate bottom, make it into a 4-man, turn those things around. So I like the pickup there overall, taking Tassadar off the board.
Rhaegar's still up and available. Would assume that Tempest might go that route. There's always a Kharazim, as you've been mentioning. I think I prefer the Kharazim when Hyde is playing.
Yeah, you know, it's funny because sometimes you want to just take away the more flexible support in the Tassadar, because if you ban out the Rhaegar, then Hyde's like, well, I'm fine. I'll just take the Kharazim. And you don't want to ban the Kharazim because Rhaegar's more meta, very strong with the Grey main here. So you take out the middleman kind of in a way that empowers both. You know, you could run the Tassadar with either the Kharazim or the Rhaegar. So I like this ban a lot because L5 just simply doesn't want to run it.
Trick, I want to pose this question to you. H82's hero. We've seen some questionable Dahaka play. He still has Artanis in his back pocket that he has run on this battleground, but they need a solo laner.
Yeah,
it's going to be Leoric.
It's going to be Leoric. Artanis against a Genji kind of gets poked down and kited pretty heavily, and then Uther is the real major threat that kind of puts a stop to that idea. But man,
Leoric over Dahaka, though.
Leoric over Dahaka, I think it's not a bad matchup at all. I mean, you could definitely handle it. Drain helps become important.
You're dealing with hyper-mobile heroes in the draft so far. Genji will be able to get out of the Entomb, no problem. Murden gets out of the Entomb, no problem. The idea is going to be, I suppose, to try to pair that with the chain CCs of Anub'arak, the Twilight Dream coming out from Malfurion. I feel like for Tempest, they need a longer sustained hero for their final pick to win the battle of sustain, because Tastar's removed. It's solo support Uther right now. Sure, we could see a Uther Rhaegar, but that's more Western style. I don't think we're going to see that from L5. So maybe Tempest brings in something like a Tychus for their final pick, something that can win the longer fight, bring out the Odin.
I got a feeling it might even be what they picked just the other day, the Medivh. Gives you the sustain, gives you a little bit of extra damage to put pressure on there, and gives you that mobility that seemingly you might lack with some of this team.
Well, Dahaka will be taken away, and there's the Zeratul. We were talking about it quite a bit, you know, about how Genji kind of took over mobility-wise. We saw this type of drafting out of L5 and also MVP Miracle early on in HGC Korea, right after Genji was released. We saw so much Zeratul Genji. Super hyper dive, and before level 13, before Malfurion has Ice Block, he is going to be the target. They're going to be looking to pick off Hyde, who's been so aggressively positioned on the Kharazim so many times, on the Rhaegar. So I like this choice for L5. They're going to look to kill that backline. Are they going to go for the sustained damage in terms of a traditional assassin here, like a Tychus, or are they going to go down the path you mentioned with the Medivh? That's the big question here. I personally prefer the Tychus.
There's always a possibility for blow up as well, though. Don't forget about Li Ming being a possibility for their movement in here. And with Malfurion being on the side, you have decent control with the roots. Ooh, they actually go into a third tank with Arthas.
I feel like I'm watching Trick the Esport out of Europe. This is something that on Dragonshire, they were very okay with running this. They had a very melee-heavy style to deal with these type of compositions.
I mean, the Arthas provides a different type of longer team fighting when you have triple tank. When you have the slows coming in, you're going to really hurt the Zeratul's extra pick potential. When he dives in, you can root him, but also you slow him. So the longer the fight goes on, he's going to have to be using his movement skills, his blinks, his Vorpal Blade, right, to actually go in and out, avoid those slows. But I actually like this response. It's very difficult for Zeratul to blow up those targets. Greymane has a large health pool.
But if they fall behind, that's where Triple Warrior is really hard to come back from. So they have to make sure that Leoric in particular is on point with his movement.
All right, this is a crazy final draft here. The meta is broken for everything that we expect to know from Korea, coming out from Tempest here with the Triple Warrior, the Leoric, the Arthas, and the Anub'arak. They spawn in blue. Can they get the comeback here and take Game 5? We're going to find out, Jay-How.
We're going to find out, as it is going to be L5 on the side on the right. I tell you what just stands out to me instantly. SC is going to be our Zeratul player, which it's not something that he can't do. It's just something that it becomes a necessity that you have to play. You have to diversify, leaving Zhangha onto the Dahaka. This is a wild draft for me, I think, for L5.
Absolutely. All right, here we go. We're going to see the CCs coming in from Sign. Sign, man, the make or break player for this series. It feels like Swoi is vulnerable. Chang'e with the great root here. There's the follow-up Sun. Hooligan wants to come in. This is a mistake, though. He's going to find himself going down from that cocktail damage. Lockdown will go down as well. It looks like we are just going to have blood for blood on both sides. Advantage, though, goes to Tempest.
I told myself, I was like, look, Triple Warrior, Dragonshire, prepare yourself for a potentially longer game, a slower start until they get to level 10. But they come out firing on all cylinders, and I'm like, I'll take it. I will gladly take it. And right. Genji?
That's another pick here. The CC cannot be underestimated. We talk about the lack of damage, sure, in burst, looking for fights like that, but in picks, in rotations, they have so much, and L5 is so far not respecting this. Also, let's not forget, we have the range here for the W for Leoric. He's going to be trying to get those larger life steals in the longer fights. They need that damage. We might just see a drain hope build from start to finish to get that extra damage. Also, the level 1 respect from Hyde here for the vision here with the scouting drone.
There's the follow-up CC we talked about. Zhang Hai gets the tongue on. He's going to live for the moment. As we see, not enough damage there, but that is the CC train as Greymane getting picked off in the bottom. Wolf, we're looking at 3 kills to 2 here early on.
It's been pretty fiery. Remember, if Greymane is picked in team fights later on in the game, that is their main source of damage. He cannot be killed. It's Honkono. He has to be carefully positioned. He's going to be going into the cocktail build. They want the longer fight, the poke, and Honkono's been famous for, especially in this tournament and at the end of HGC Korea for this first split where he switched back to the DPS role, going into the Wisdom Duelist build. But in this case, he cannot do it. It's too risky. He wants the longer poke, the extra cocktail damage, and he needs to make sure his positioning is so safe. Cannot be picked like this. It's actually going to be the Hyde pick that they're looking for. But yeah, in the longer fights, Honkono needs to make sure he is at the very back.
That seemed a little bit too easy, and I was about to make a comment on the fact that SC is going to have his hands full in being a high-impact player. The only targets that you're really going to be able to look at are Malfurion, and he's going to have Ice Block, post 13. You know, Worgen form for Greymane gives him that added armor. Things along those lines make it very difficult for SC to have that type of impact. And then also, what do you follow up for on a Void Prison? Where do you use Void Prison offensively? Things like that are big questions we're going to have
sure,
answered.
And maybe we see the Divine Storm, possibly, but the problem with that is it doesn't empower the melees. They're trying to go in the backline, get those kills onto the Greymane, get the kills onto the Malfurion. That's why the window between 10 and 13 is going to be so important for L5. Here we do see Zhang'e actually committing fully in here. Look at how much damage Honkono is able to do with the cocktails, completely ignored. But when they don't have the CC advantage in these choke points, it's L5 that's able to get the picks. But yeah, the Void Prison is going to be a huge factor. Maybe the Divine Storm is the follow-up. Also, let's not forget, when the dive comes in with the Greymane, sorry, with the Zeratul, with the Genji, that's when Twilight Dreams have to be good. So post 13, Ice Block into these insane Twilight Dreams, the heavy dive of L5. Then you've got this insanely tanky composition for Tempest. It's a really scary thought. So L5 will have to be very methodical about how they bait out some of these Ice Blocks, some of these Twilight Dreams.
SD is going to try and get over, but the interrupt there from Hyde at the very short cooldown going to make it very difficult for them to do that while 3 members stand by. And Hooligan and Sign, the battle of the bullies here, as Murden just going to walk away and look for an advantage elsewhere as they're closing in on level 7.
H82 often jumped on here, but with the Leoric pick, he should be able to get away just fine. We're going to see Swoi the target here with the next CC battle as they're trying to lock him down, but he's positioned too well. They know SC is rotating down, so they're just going to try to poke at this to control the channel. Hyde is found. No Ice Block. This is what we're talking about. Pre-13. He gets picked.
He gets picked, but they're trying to turn the tables here as SD took a bit of damage and lockdown with nowhere to retreat. That's going to be a second pick there onto Tempest as SDE goes in and gets that reset. You know, I mean, we look at this, we talk about the follow-up CC train, but Uther, level 7, Guardian of the Ancient Kings, it's going to make fights a lot easier to survive in.
I think the biggest power spike for Tempest's composition is actually not even really 10. It's actually once Honkono finishes his cocktail build. He just locked it in at 7. When he has all those stacks, he gets the cooldown reduction. He's the main damage dealer. Without that, they can't really win those fights. Everyone was low on L5. They tried to turn the fight. When the cocktail build is complete, that's when it's a different story.
It's definitely a different story. Once again, we have both shrines captured. Hooligan providing the necessary block there. The diversion roadblock. Something along those lines.
Barrier, I don't know.
I'm the barrier. You're not walking past me. But our first Dragon Knight picked up here for L5 as they look at a full level lead.
They also have this really cool giant push down in the bot lane. There's a defensive giant the Hyde wants to sustain here with the heals. Do see the CC coming down onto SC. Does get away here, of course, though. And this will eventually be clean, but this empowers the Dragon Knight to get more push power in the top. You were talking about this with me a lot when we came into this tournament. The Dragon Knight is much stronger than it used to be. It clears waves a lot faster. And as you can see with this wave clear, not only is he going to do direct damage to the wall, but the follow-up wave here is going to have to be dealt with for H82.
Yeah, H82 has to try and get some damage on there, trying to hit that drain life, that drain hope, and just try and pull that out of there. As getting behind that wall will keep you from getting punted out of there, but level 10 has been picked up now. It will not be the Divine Storm, but we are going to be seeing an isolation picked up again here for Daka.
I think it's going to be to either grab onto the Nubrok if he overextends, lock him down and kill him first, and then start to kind of go to the back line once he's down, once the CC is gone. But they have this 10 advantage now. The Divine Shield is going to empower whichever melee comes into the back lines to try to get picks. This is an awkward fight for Tempest to take, but they do have the fort defense. And L5 has just controlled the objective. They've controlled the lanes. They have not the best wave clear in the game here, but with the picks they've been getting, the rotations they've been having, they win the lane that way. Not by wave clear, but by actual picks, which is scary for Tempest considering they had the lead in CC pre-10. And Cocktail build, only 3 stacks here for Hong Kong. Feels like it's forever away.
It is, but you know, once you get 10, you can be a little bit more aggressive in these team fights. They've been playing down since they hit level 7. You know, they gave up the Dragon Knight, they gave up quite a bit of structural control, but it does allow them to get back in. Everything across the board, pretty normal thus far. We are seeing go for the throat, not the cursed bullet, but a Nubarak holding on to his. He might be thinking he might need some survivability with that Locust Swarm.
With the slow heals coming out from Uther, it's something that you have to consider when you have the triple tank and you have this fight where you're so difficult to kill because there's so much protection coming out. Leoric's peeling for you, Arthas is peeling for you. Definitely could have been the way. Also the AoE to deal with the melees coming in. But the Cocoon is going to be so valuable. If you can stop Uther from using Divine Shield in the fight, remove that healing entirely, then you're going to have a good time, especially when the cocktails start flying.
That's going to be the biggest thing. A sign going in. They've got the stun. They got the follow-up train there. They don't have the damage, though, as Hong Kono not willing to commit as they realize that the flank might be coming down. And look on the backside. SC lurking in the bushes there on Zeratul.
Okay, here comes the dive in for STE. Zeratul, will he drop down the prison? Not going to be the case as everyone splits decently here for Tempest. Doesn't get the juicy one he was looking for. He wants it to be perfect, not decent when he uses that long cooldown heroic. But I worry now for Tempest because of what Trick was describing. This comp is so strong in the early game with all of its CCs, but it does fall off in the late game when you get behind. It's hard to make big flashy plays against the comp that's more mobile, that is ahead, that has control lanes. We're not there yet, but it feels like we're getting closer and closer. L5 had the heroic advantage. They're going to have the level 13 advantage. And this is their best window to do a lot before Ice Block is online for Hyde.
We got Murden just diving right in. Hooligan, there's the stun. There's the lockdown. The roots are there, but the armor from Uther, it makes it look like Hooligan was barely touched. No need to even use Avatar. Again, Guardian of the Ancient Kings, it's still a super strong tool. When you talk about trying to deal with that CC train that was so dominant, so strong early, it now looks far weaker, as you said, as we get later into the game, especially post 7.
And with this heavy commitment down to try to get this pick, basically the 4-man here, Leoric is kind of in the middle here, trying to decide how he wants to engage this. The top lane is being dominated by Zheng'e. He's doing direct damage now to the fort. And even though Tempest looks to rotate up and punish this, he very well may just be able to burrow stalk his way out of here, brush stalking out. Boom. Not even close sign. Looks silly to watch the burrow charge as he called this a mile away. And here we go. With that, he actually doesn't just run away. He goes to be aggressive. Void Prison's down. Hong Kono is going to be the target here. There's the silence, and SDE is popping off. We do see the Twilight Dream is used here. The defensive Entomb attempted, but it's not enough. And this is, again, pre-13 before he has that ice block.
That was just clutch plays made there by L5 as we saw the isolation was used, and SDE on that Genji comes in to get the cleanup. And Wolf, we're going to be looking at a second Dragon Knight here for L5 momentarily.
Yeah, there's just no way to deny this. The buffer, the roadblock, Hooligan was already heading down to make sure no one was even nearby, no beetles to harass. Everyone's respawning now here as Hyde does come up, but Twilight Dream is a long way away, and so is, it feels like, that ice block. So he needs to make sure he's defensively positioned. Hong Kono, I feel like this is a time to just sit back, farm stacks. He needs that completed so badly if he wants to take any fights. This is not the end of the world by any means for Tempest, but as Trick was saying, if you start to fall behind here, you really do struggle. They just need to make sure they keep their keeps alive.
It's the problem with Triple Warrior comps. It's what is your comeback mechanic, as Hooligan just throws down the L5 spray in the middle of that just for a little bit of a good time. But that is another fort down. This Dragon Knight still 30 seconds left. They're going to start pressing into the keep wall.
Okay, this is a terrifying moment for Tempest. It feels like the game has been whisked away from them. We were in this situation before on Towers of Doom, but this time it's an even further lead for L5. And as you say, what is going to be the big changing moment? There's no mosh pit with this comp. There's no crazy amount of CC that can lead to a Dragon Blade. Sure, you have incredible CCs with a noob, but it's going to be mostly just for cocktail damage coming out. And they're just getting bullied so hard right now. The talent tier advantage goes to L5. Finally, they have the ice block, but if they were on even footing in terms of experience, in terms of the talents right now, I'd like it a lot more. Now it just feels like, okay, at least I've got this when they dive in to try to kill me.
That is about as much value as you could probably ask for out of a Dragon Knight. And right now, L5 with that talent tier advantage with Hooligan. He has heavy impact. He gets the stun. Not willing to commit too hard to the fight. Even Jiang Ha used his Brush Stalker for a potential fight there. They were looking for it. They weren't able to get it.
This is allowing right now in the top lane the Leoric split soak for coming out from H82, trying to catch up in experience. Here comes the rotation. He is senior. They predicted his Wraith Walk. He is vulnerable here now as well. Tries to use this, gets the second one off, but the Vorpal will finish him off. Still, a small price to pay for what Soki was trying to get. The problem is that L5 is so far ahead that every step Tempest tries to make is 2 steps behind L5. So sure, he's trying to get the split soak, but there's no one to protect him. They're just trying to defend the Waves bot to get their experience, while L5 looks for another pick, clears all the lanes. And Zhanga hasn't even gone back to lane yet, but he could at any moment go get that extra soak.
He could. And the minute this wall goes down,
look for them to go up beside.
They're diving in. They have the vulnerability there. The Cocoon is out. They've got the damage. They're going to have Swoi pop out of there. He's got the Divine Shield available if needed, but SDE going off there on Genji.
Honkono's in Worgen form here. He can't do the cocktail damage he's looking for. His go for the throat didn't get the reset. He wants to stay in Worgen form. It looks like the Entomb completely misses here. The follow-up root is there, but unfortunately, there's just not the damage. That was the fight we were talking about, where you have suddenly, we were wondering, what is the big engage tool? Is it the mosh pit? No, not in this case. Is it going to be the burrow charge with the impale? Yes, they got the 2-man impale, but where was the entomb? It missed. Where was the kill? They couldn't do it. They don't have enough damage to blow up a single target, even when the Cocoon goes down and there's no Divine Shield. Honkono sitting in Worgen form, trying to re-engage, trying to go back to human form, but it's risky, doesn't want to lose that armor, and they just lose the longer fight. This is the exact opposite situation of what Tempest was looking for, and now so far behind, with another Dragon Knight for L5, they're looking to just barely defend the keep, or this game could snowball away from them.
Triple Warrior, triple front line makes these defensives so much more difficult, because where does your damage come in? Where does your defense come in?
Siege Giants too, man.
They're just pushing in. And where your 16 window of opportunity to come back and pick that team fight, it gets smaller and smaller and smaller, because the more experience they get, they continue to put their lead. And it is so tough to deal with if you're on the side of Tempest. They're going to look to hit 16. They might try and force the issue, but right now they're desperately trying to hold on to a keep.
SC's trying to find his way to get the back line here as well. Lockdown is dealing with them very well. The keep's halfway dead. Honkono was punted away, so he's not here to actually heavily engage here. Now coming in, Zhanga going really deep. The keep still survives. He gets aggroed by both keeps. The keep will go down, but will Tempest be able to turn the fight? That's the question. Zhanga now caught by the root. He's the target here, but immediately burrows away. And Hooligan is doing so much peel in the front line. Avatar's coming down.
Avatar's coming out. He's going to dwarf toss out. The root's going to land onto Dahaka. They've also got the root onto Hooligan, who's got the armor, but SDE goes in. He's putting the pressure, forcing the Cocoon onto him.
SC is so low, the silence here. We talked about the counter engage. It could be used from Hyde, but now that Honkono was done, where is the damage? It just isn't there. Cool Roots coming down here to try to slow down SDE's Dragon Blade, but he's done so much damage. Here comes some stuns here, but the Void Prison, they want to get the wipe. They are very likely to get it. Spawn's coming in here. Anubrak still trying to do what he can in terms of CC, but he's dragged. He's killed. Another reset here for SDE.
Oh,
and SC!
SC blinks out at the last possible moment to survive, and it looks like they're looking to re-engage here, trying to get these minions onto the core. They are looking to end here.
They want this. It's been a long, hard-fought series for them. They want to take this in the 5th game to do what MVP Black could not in the previous series against Tempest. Long death timers coming in. Honkono is going to respawn, but it just feels like too little too late. There's no silence here for Hyde. He doesn't have the Twilight Dream. The core is going down, and L5 will take the 5th and final game on Dragonshire.
They take it, Wolf, and they have moved on and secured their spot in the grand finals here at the Eastern Clash. They're going to be able to sit back, watch the competition unfold, and now put themselves in a great position.
Max confidence here with this dealing of the triple warrior comp. The early game, it wasn't easy for them. They had to deal with that CC. They had to deal with the Anubrak, the gank attempts, but they found that window of time to get the picks themselves, and of course then parlayed that into Dragon Knights back-to-back. During the window of time before Ice Block was up for Hyde, they punished him, and you could see, even though these guys are all friends and teammates, they played against each other in so many tournaments. There's some frustration here on the side of Tempest. The early there, nearly to the grand finals. They didn't make it. They weren't even close at Eastern Clash #1. This was their closest opportunity, but they just fell a little bit short.
They fell a little bit short, but they can't hang their heads. They took L5 to a Game 5, and they obviously had some changes to how they were drafting. I think they might have overcommitted a little bit there, but, you know, obviously Tempest has the potential. They took L5 to a Game 5. They defeated MVP Black once already in this tournament. They are now still in. They're in the lower bracket. They're going to wait the winner of our next game, but they are not out of it.
This sets up so many stories for the potential series between, of course, Black and Tempest. The rematch. Can Black win it to defend their Eastern Clash title, or is it going to be Tempest who wins it again? So many cool storylines. Of course, Black isn't quite there yet. They will, of course, have to face off against CE later on, but what a cool storyline we're going into for this bracket now, and this was just our first best of 5.
It is our first best of 5. That's going to wrap up our winners bracket final, but we're also going to have Trixler on the stage so we can hear from our winners to see what they thought of that series.
And I am here with Hooligan from L5, the new Warrior player for the roster, and he's been killing it. But let's talk about this series. So, Hooligan, going throughout the entire series, around Game 3, it looked like you guys identified that Tempest was slacking on the macro side. Was that a part of the plan to try and break them down?
예, 첫 경기 후에 운영을 더 집중한 것 같은데요. 왜 운영을 더 집중했어요?
그냥 저희는 그냥 한타 조합 더 생각해서, 그러니까 처음에 파멸의 탑 맵에서 좀 많이 한타가 힘든 것 같아서 한타도 많이 생각하면서 하자고 해서 마지막엔 한타 위주의 조합을 짰어요. 네.
So he was saying that the way that the draft worked out, like especially like the maps that were decided, those maps were always a macro-based map. It was more about the map than as opposed to about like the way the players were going about the game.
L5 executing on the battlegrounds end. So, L5 has made it to the grand finals, and I gotta know here, who do you think of the 3 teams remaining are your best competition going into the grand finals?
나머지 3팀 중에서 누가 올라올 것 같아요?
그러니까 원래 처음에 지금 이스턴 클래시 시작하기 전에는 좀 MVP 블랙이 당연히 올라갈 거라고 생각했는데 템페스트가 엄청 잘하더라고요. 그래서 이기는 거 보고 그냥 모르겠다라고 생각을 했어요. 근데 아직도 두 팀 다 해봐야 알 것 같아요. 네.
So when we first came to the Eastern Clash, it was definitely MVP Black, hands down. But after this set with Tempest, it's going to be wild. We're not going to know till we've played both of the teams who's going to come up.
I'm looking forward to it. Tempest has been pretty crazy so far. But for those that are at home that are new to L5 and don't quite cheer for them yet, why should they cheer for your team going into the grand finals?
새로운 팬들한테 한마디 좀 해주세요.
Drop the beat.
He said drop the beat.
Oh, snap. Maybe some Lucio coming out? We'll have to see as the Grand Finals will be coming your way later. But first, up next, MVP Black taking on CE.